Bitcoin just sold off overnight and Bitcoin is back at $100,000. So I just want to do a bit of a quick update here now that we have the weekly candle close and we are only a few days away from not only the new Chinese year, but also the end of the month and the monthly candle. So let's dive in. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Dirk. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, follow my page on Instagram, and you will get these updates as I continue to do them regularly for free. So let's start off by looking at the weekly chart over here. You can see Bitcoin is trading at $100,000 just over. And that's actually quite a big sell-off because last week we actually hit a new all-time high at $109,000. So we're basically down like almost 10% in the last couple of days, and especially in the last 12 hours or so, Bitcoin basically sold off from like $105,000 to now $100,000. So let's talk about, first of all, this candle that we see over here that just closed. This weekly candle, it could potentially be a bit of a bearish candle, but we're going to have to wait to see how this current week closes, and obviously the week just started, so we have a full 7 days ahead of us here to see how that's going to close, because this candle can basically go two ways. Okay, it's possible that the bulls still step in and we push this all the way back up, but if the bulls don't show up here, the fact that it actually ended up taking the high, so it made a new all-time high, it wicked above here, that could also be a bit more of a bearish thing. And if we get a weekly close lower into the 90Ks this week, that could potentially be more bearish, as well as what we have with the monthly close that's coming up in just 4 days from now. That's going to be very, very telling, in my opinion, where the markets are likely to go, because once we get that monthly candle close, we get a better insight of what we can expect for February, for March, and maybe even for April. And that's going to be very critical because we're currently at this pivot level, I think, where the price has to go higher. Like, it has to close above, I would say, at least 102,000, better 104,000 for the month for us to continue bullish. If we close below 100,000, and especially if it's like 95,000, then it's possible that we have more of a shorter term correction and sell-off where we can go back to retest the March 2024 highs, which is currently about $72,000. Also, the fact that this has perfect confluence with the 50-week moving average, as you can see here, that's exactly at that current level. So what is important to understand here for everyone who's looking for a direction, who doesn't really understand these charts, is that Bitcoin could drop to $72,000 and still be in a bull trend, which means we could have a 30% drop right now from current prices and still technically be in a bull market. The reason why that's so important to understand is that if we get this sell-off and we drop to 90,000 or 80,000 or even 70,000, and obviously altcoins will probably get a 30 to 50% drop as well, that's going to be very, very scary for anyone who doesn't have conviction, anyone's over leveraged, anyone's overextended, anyone who's bought the top and just sees it drop and drop and drop. But again, it still does not mean we are in a bear market. We only technically go into a new bear market once Bitcoin closes below this 50-week moving average, which is currently about 72,000. So only once we get the first weekly close below 72,000, that's when I would call an end to the bull market and a start of a new bear market. Anything until that point, even a retest of 72,000, could still be just a massive shakeout and a massive pullback. So if you look, for example, imagine we do something like this and we retest 72,000, and then we just hang around here a little bit, something like this, and then we continue higher later in the year. That's also completely a possibility. But this is where probably most people would get incredibly bearish. People would panic sell. Altcoins would probably be down another 50% from where they are. So maybe very scary stuff for people who don't understand the markets. Yet, this could be, again, just a perfect retest, massive shakeout of the market before continuing much, much higher. So the reason why you need to be prepared for multiple scenarios like this is, number one, you want to manage your risk so that when it happens, you're not going to get wrecked. You don't want to be all in. You don't want to be overextended on leverage. And in fact, you also want to have dry powder, stable coins, or fiat available to be able to buy massive pullbacks like this, especially on altcoins, because once this happens, and if this is a pullback, it can rebound and it can do a 2 to 3x very, very quickly right after if the liquidity flows back into the markets. Number two, also, the reason why you want to understand and be prepared for this is that if it happens, that you don't panic sell, that you don't get shaken out right here at the bottom before it goes on a massive, massive run. Okay, so again, we don't know what is going to happen for sure. Nobody knows. Nobody can tell you what the price is going to be next month or in 6 months from now, but we look at these probabilities. And probabilities just mean there's a chance for certain stuff happening. And now as the charts develops day by day, week by week, it gives us more insights into certain patterns that have more likely outcomes, right? So as the charts develop, we start to be able to see, okay, based on this candle, it starts to become more probable, like that most of the time that these candles appear, that we are going to see a more downside or that we are going to see more upside. And that's basically what I'm trying to do here and what I'm trying to share with you. So basically last week's candle that we just got the close, that could potentially be bearish, but we need this week to confirm that bearishness. If this week is going to be a red week, I would say that is potentially going to lead to more downside and maybe as low as 70,000. But if this week ends up being a higher week, if it runs right back up to 105,000 or 110,000, then obviously it's not a bearish chart, and then maybe we could look at continuation to 120 or 130,000. So yes, right now the price is at a point where it can literally go both ways. It could go down to 70,000, it could go up to 120 or 130,000, and the best way to be able to start to see what is more likely is going to be the monthly close in 4 days from now. And then on the 1st of February, I'll do another update based on that, what is looking more likely for February or for not. But the big picture, we are still technically in a bullish trend. And as long as the trend is our friend, as long as that trend is up on the weekly chart and on the monthly chart, we can expect higher. But in the short term, there is fluctuations and there can be volatility. Now let's take a quick look at Ethereum, which is trading at $3,100 over here. You can see this the weekly chart. We have the 50-week moving average, and it looks like the price is attempting to break down below this 50-week moving average once again, which means that probably the next target is this area of demand over here, which basically this area over here, which could act as support on the way down. So on the high end, that's about 2,700. On the low end, that's about 2,200. So hopefully what we're going to see here is if we do go lower, again, that's never guaranteed, but it looks like it wants to go a bit lower. We can see maybe it does something like this. This would be ideal, and then getting back above it would mean probably continuation. I do think this high gets taken out at some point. So we will go back above $4,000 at least. And I still think before the cycle is completely over that we are going to see new all-time highs on Ethereum. That is my guess. Nobody knows for sure, but I'd be surprised if it doesn't end up happening. But in the meantime, in the shorter time frame, 2,700 to 2,200 is a possibility here. That would be this level. Obviously, if it goes lower, then we have all sorts of different liquidity levels. Like you can see, these previous lows basically become magnets. So if it does go below 2200, we might be able to start looking at, for example, this level over here, and then in very worst case, this is like in a complete black swan, those previous levels. But I'd be looking first of all 2700 to 2200. That's probably going to be a pretty strong support. And if we do get this market shakeout, Bitcoin dropping below 100 and Ethereum and the altcoins dropping, again, that might end up being a very good opportunity before this historic 4-year cycle window. So basically February, March, April is the historic cycle top kind of window where we could still see a bunch of upside. February is usually a pretty green month historically. So this could be the final shakeout before moving higher. And that's basically how I'm looking at it right now. But again, like I said, we have to wait for the monthly close, because that's going to tell us more. So in 5 days from now, on February 1st, I'll make a new update, and then we'll have more information into what is looking more likely. Quick reminder before I wrap this up is that tomorrow, January 28th, I'm closing the doors to my VIP to new members for the rest of this crypto bull market, because I think we're just too far along. Historically, we have anywhere between 3 and 8 months left of the cycle, if that 4-year cycle repeats. And basically, we're at a point where I'm just done taking on new members for the rest of this bull cycle. So if you still want to join us, the link is in the description down below. Sign up before midnight on January 28th, and you will still get access. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. If you want my daily updates, access to the members community of more than 3,000 traders and investors from around the world, if you want my daily market updates, analysis, real-time trade ideas, that's all part of VIP. Click the link in the description down below. But you have to join before midnight, January 28th, which is tomorrow. Otherwise, the doors are going to be closed.